Hey. Hi. You hear me okay? Sure everything's technically working correctly? Good afternoon. And what's happening? Happy Sunday to you. It's the 10th of November. Can't believe it's the 10th of November already. And nice to have you all here. 82 folks online. Good to see you. Folks are discussing where everybody is. We got Scotland in the house, UK, New York City. And I'm glad that it's not so late that folks still sign on in Europe and stuff. And I almost feel like I should do this a little bit earlier, but then the American folks wouldn't be around since it's Sunday morning. I think 11 a.m. is a good time. Anyways, good to see you all. I had a great day yesterday. I went to the legendary Mr. Bob Clearmountain's house. If you check my Instagram story, there's a little clip on there and a little sneak peek. He was mixing a song for me where I'm singing. And it's a song that I cut in 2012, I think. Actually, it's just been languishing on a hard drive. And I went to do a video with him and talk about his career and mixing, and where he's actually doing, like, giving us like a whole bunch of mix tips. And it's not giving away all his secrets, but I did learn like a whole bunch of stuff yesterday, and sat there while he, roughed in the mix and stuff like that for this song. And some great stories about Rolling Stones and working with Stevie Ray Vaughan. And it's just like, for those that don't know who Bob Clearmountain is, he mixed everything from Tattoo You by the Rolling Stones, Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen, and pretty much everything Springsteen's done since. I think he always works with him. What else? Let's Dance by Bowie, Avalon by Roxy Music. I mean, some of the best sounding records ever made. So he's a legend, and it was just really fun to. I've known him for years, but it was great to get over there and actually be there while he was working and see how he works and how he mixes and stuff. So this is a video that's coming, is what I'm saying. Interview with him, as well as like, I took an audio out of the console while he was working and mixing and, doing things. So you get to see all that and hear what as he's working. So it's just a great fly on the wall, Bob Clearmountain mix video kind of. And he's got a new plugin out that's super cool too, called Clearmountain's Domain. And it's basic. I learned all this yesterday, the way he routes effects and does stuff with, when he's mixing with, it's basically, it's his whole right side of his SSL console has all of his chambers, delays, and harmonizers and stuff like that all in, on the returns and sends and stuff like that. So he's, got this, he has amazing ability to get ambience in his music and make it kind of have a live feel, like you're at a show or something. Like when you think about a mix, like, Born in the USA or something, it sounds like you're watching a live show. That's really exciting or something. And he did all Bryan Adams' Run to You and all that, Summer of '69 and all that. He produced those records too. So anyway, that sound, that exciting sound that he kind of helped create, Bowie, Let's Dance. Anyways, it's just really great. You get to kind of see how that all works, and the plugin will allow you to kind of recreate his routing for doing things like chambers, echoes, de-essing on echoes, which I'd never thought of before, but I learned about that yesterday. Where he'll actually de-ess delays, because when somebody says, like in a vocal, somebody says, and then it goes somebody says and you get the s's on the, and then in the delays it sounds like really, like, it makes your mix kind of chaotic when there's all these s's in it. So he de-esses the delay so that you can crank the delay louder, and it just creates this ambience without all the spikes going through it. Amazing shit, like really fun if you're into recording, especially. Okay. What else we got here? So that's coming. Since it's going to be a lot of editing, because it was a lot of video I shot yesterday, but it's going to be cool. Why the change from medium jumbo to jumbo frets on the 2019 Sur PT model was Jay Stone's question. So I just accepted the fact at some point that in the 80s I had it figured out that I liked big frets. I like big frets. I like them as big as they'll go, like, almost, so I had moved away from that, and 6105s and different, pretty big frets, but not as big as the 6100s. And then at some point I said, can I just try 6100s again? And they put the 6100s on a guitar for me, that size. They don't use the whoever makes that. Is it Dunlop makes the that fret wire. They use a different brand of fret wire, but it's not just Scar. I can't remember. But anyway, whatever Sir uses, the equivalent of a 6100 size, and I just loved it. It's like, oh, this is that feel. I'm kind of getting in some ways back to like the things that I learned and was like in the point where I was playing guitar and getting really, I was learning about tone and learning about things and feel and the things that I liked, like a locking tremolo, right? That's the bridge on my PT guitar now. It's like I had that figured out in the 80s. That works. I like to be in tune. I don't like to tune a lot. Why did I ever move away from that? Well, it was because of Floyd Rose is clunky and stuff like that. So, but now that I've got a bridge that's not clunky, that'll stay in tune. Like, why not use it? So that's why the new Wilkinson bridge 6100s. Why not use them? I knew I liked them in the 80s, and then I tried other things and moved away. And I could play other guitars. I mean, I got guitars with all kinds of frets in here, but I just on my signature model, it's like I want it to play as familiar and as easy to play as possible. And so that's why the big ones, because I knew that that's what I liked years ago. What else? Yeah, I was trying to think about other things that I learned back then. That I was just like, like I often think I wish I could hear my tones back then, because when I've heard live recordings of this show that I did that was recorded with the band Five for Fighting in like 2001, I hear the sounds and I'm like, why did I ever move away from that guitar sound? That's a great guitar sound. It was a Top Hat King Royale, which is like his version of an AC30. And I used to run it through a 412 and the internal 212 speakers at the same time. It sounded great. So little things like that, where it's like, man, I had a lot of this stuff like, decided back in the day, and why, we experiment and stuff and it's cool. But sometimes when we maybe get past sometimes you go past it and then you come back and go, wait a minute, that iteration of my tone was maybe the best for me. Switch a bridge pickup from JB 500K pots to a Friedman Classic humbucker with lower 7.9K output, says Coyote Jones, up in the top chat, I might add. Thanks, man, for doing that. But it sounds very bright compared to the JB. Yeah, well, the JB is going to be darker and middier because it's hotter. So how to handle? Well, you could experiment with different things like rolling the tone control down. I guess you could go to a 300K pot and see if you like that. That's like Gibson did that for a lot of years. That'll take some of the edge off, but maybe you just like the sound of a hotter middier pickup is the thing. Maybe the JB is your thing and you might want to try a series parallel switch for lower output sort of tones or more chimey tones, or you could do the cap resistor trick where you roll down and get a little less output, a little more chime, on the volume control for when you want the lower output tones. Once you get the thing about a JB is it's addictive to play with gain. They're not the greatest pickups clean. They don't really sound. There's not a hell of a lot of great clean going on with a JB because it's kind of a mid bomb, I always say. But that it's kind of like the equivalent of what I do. Like if I'm playing my PT amp, on the channel 2 or 3, and then I hit it with a Klon style drive. It's sort of the equivalent of what you're trying to do with a JB, more output, more mids. So if you get used to that sound and that feel, and then, the pickups can sound brighter. So it is like 7.9K output. It's, you're getting into the realm of more like hot single coil sort of, especially if it's if it's unbalanced coils and that low, you get into like that. It's a great sound. I mean, like when I think about T-tops and stuff like that, that was, Alnico 5 magnets, 7 point something K, and it's got that mid to late 60s kind of Gibson thing that a lot of people sort of covet and dig. A lot of people, the PAFs, but then T-tops, this is a cool pickup, or, even patent number humbuckers. Like that's what's in my my 335 is, and it's a lot. People love the sound of that guitar, but it's pretty low output, really, and it's got a lot of chime and bite to it, a lot of character. The thing about the hot pickups is just the hotter you go, the more you're locked into the sound of that pickup. It paints you into the corner of that one tone of that pickup. Whereas I feel like the lower output pickups, the wood of the guitar comes through more and you get a little more character and chime and top end or something like that, and the pickup sort of has less of a dominant effect and the overall tone is more, so in my opinion. Yeah. What else we got here? Let's see. I'll kind of move into the middle of the chat. What do I think of testing my PT15 line out to time-based effects with the stereo amp like the Matrix and see if it sounds and feels good that way? A video would be awesome, says Pedro. I can already tell you it's going to sound pretty cool. Would you take the line out, though, to guitar cabs or to full range? That's my question. Incidentally, I was helping Britt make a video for, should maybe just go grab it because I have it in the other room here. I could show you this cabinet. It doesn't matter. It's a 112 cabinet with a new Celestion speaker in it that I'm pleasantly surprised with. Anybody that's using modeling out there, but maybe you don't, you don't want to go buy a QSC model cabinet to listen to your modeler through or something. You'd rather use a guitar sort of cab and have it back there. Like maybe you want the look of a guitar cab, or you like the feel of a traditional guitar cabinet that's behind you, especially the feel. Like if you've tried modeling rigs, and then you try and get some on stage sound, like maybe you're running a line to the house, but then you want some on stage. Like I miss that cabinet feel, but you can't get it out of like a PA cabinet or something. Celestion has this speaker for you. It's called an F12 X200. It's a good long name for a speaker, I think, personally. But what it is it's a full range speaker that looks like a traditional guitar speaker, and you can mount it in any cabinet. So if you've got a 112 open back or closed or whatever, I think it sounds great in an open back, but 112 open back or closed, it's a concentric drivers, which means the high frequency is in the center. There's a high frequency driver in the center, and it's covered up by a cap, so it looks like a regular guitar speaker. And then this is like the woofer or whatever handling the low end, and there's a crossover and everything contained within the speaker, and it'll handle 200 watts. The point is you can mount it in any 112. And it really actually sounds good. Like, so in other words, we tried running both the PT15 on the line out with speaker simulation enabled, and also HX Stomp from Helix through a Matrix power amp, like you say. And we ran that into this cabinet. Just loaded up the speaker in this empty cab I had, and then ran it in there. And I was like, oh, sounds really good, actually. Like, that's a great solution for somebody that maybe just wants to add a cab to their modeler, be it a Kemper or Axfex or whatever you've got. And if you've got an extra power amp lying around, a solid state power amp, or maybe even one of those little, they make the Class D ones now, the Magnum 44s or the Moores or the little power amps, and you could use it with a modeler and run into a little 112 guitar cab. It sounds pretty credibly like a regular guitar amp. It feeds back, does all this stuff. I was pretty impressed. It's like, I don't know, whatever. It's a moving target because every guitar cab and amp and everything sounds different, but it definitely resembles the tone and feel of a traditional speaker in a traditional cabinet. So I was pretty pleasantly surprised. And it's designed in the way, like they talked to me about this speaker a while ago at Celestion, and they said, a PA speaker is polar opposite from a guitar speaker. Guitar speakers are very low efficiency, low power, really thin paper and stuff, and they're designed to be anything from the first thing from flat. They're not flat at all. Whereas a PA speaker is designed to be really robust, high power handling, very stiff, and all that stuff that's sort of the antithesis of what we think of as a guitar speaker. So consequently, when you try and play through a PA cabinet with IRs or whatever, it's like, well, now it sounds like I'm playing through a monitor, or it doesn't resemble the feel, let alone, it can be, maybe the tone is, well, yeah, that sounds like a greenback coming through a PA speaker, which is sort of like the tone, I guess, but the feel isn't the chunky thing and all that, it's not there. So I think this is a great product because it actually there's this looseness to it that feels like you're playing that, like when you do a palm mute or something, it feels like it's moving, like and the tone coming off the cab and everything much more resembles a guitar amp than what I'm used to with full range stuff. If that makes sense. So anyway, she made a little video where she's describing it and stuff, and then put it in the cabinet. She just played some simple stuff and showed some feedback and, playing some chords and stuff through it, and put a mic back in the room because it's a full range cabinet. So you won't put a mic right up on it, like a 57 or something. That'd be weird. So we just got to broom, back 4 feet or whatever. Anyways, Will I be doing clinics in Minnesota in the near future, says Pinky. I hope I answered that question enough. The fellow was asking about PT15 line out to time-based effects. The answer is it's going to, I've done it recording and it sounds great. It's really fun. And I would try doing it maybe with something like the Matrix with 2 of these speakers. I only have 1 here, so I can't do it in stereo, but I can tell you right now, it sounds really good with the PT15 because I tried the PT15 briefly with the 112 and stuff. So you could just put some effects in the middle there and it would be a cool little setup. I think you're talking about maybe running the line out load through kind of like a load reamp thing, maybe with traditional guitar cabs, which will work great. You can totally do that with something like a Matrix. I don't know if it's going to be the exact same feel because now you got the Matrix in the equation, and Matrix is a good amp for reamping. As a matter of fact, I was talking to my friend Al Estrada, plays EVH really well and stuff. He's been using one in his rig. He's got a loaded down Marshall head, old Eddie style or whatever, and then loaded down, running through what was his effects, 2290 or something he said, I can't remember, but then he's splitting out to a Matrix and running into a couple 412s, and he thinks it sounds great. So an old Moss valve that'll work good too. They always felt really good. Hi Pete, what are you using for drum sound? Sorry, and there was another guy I was gonna clinics in Minnesota. Pinky was asking about. I don't know about Minnesota, but I'm headed out tomorrow, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, and music in Pittsburgh. And what was the other one? Baltimore. I'm going to Baltimore as well. So 3 coming this week in the States. And then Asia is happening very soon. We'll be announcing those. It's coming up quick, but they'll be basically there's Tokyo, which has already been announced on the 28th of this month. And then first 2 weeks of December, there's going to be a bunch. If anybody's in Asia, probably nobody is because people are sleeping there right now. But if there is anybody in Asia, I'm coming over that way and I'll be hitting a book. There's 7 that are coming. So it's going to be a busy end of the year for me, which I'm going to touch on in a second here. But Vincent was asking, is your Tesla Red version available? And Vincent, you sent me something. I forgot to answer an email from you the other day. You asked me about my email's the same. My Tesla Red version available. I don't know what you mean by that exactly, but yeah, I got a Model 3. I'm driving the Model 3 now, which I love. It's insane. But I don't know. There is a red version available, but it's a big upcharge. It's an extra $1,000 on top of what my car was for just the red. I didn't want to pay that. So okay, and what was the Minnesota was the question? PT15 was a question. Yeah, Tomas asked, what are you using for drum sound? Any plug-in or the real deal? Mostly it's plugins for the demos that you see, but my whole last record was all real drums. So the song I mixed yesterday with Bob was real drums. I've got so many drummer friends with great studios now. Similar to every drummer I know has got a setup where they can record and track drums now, which is amazing because I can literally send a track to somebody and they'll send me back drums 24 hours later that sounded great. So the song I mixed yesterday is live drums, but the plugins I'm not at all opposed to using, and I use them all the time. And I use Easy Drummer 2, Superior Drummer 3. And Steven Slate drums. I've got the new 5 version, but I'm actually still on 4. I've just been using that. I haven't been really integrating the 5 yet. And what else do I use? I'm using this thing called Arcade. It's called Arcade by Output. I got sucked in by the ads that would pop up on YouTube videos, and it's a browser based, so online based instrument plugin. That it seems really geared towards electronic music production, and it's a lot of hip hop guys and stuff like that, and in that world seem to use it, and those are all the guys in the ads generally. But it sounded really good to me, and I thought I'd try it. And even for because I'm much more sort of rock based guy, I guess, and I like incorporating those different sounds into my music anyway, and trying some different things. And so I got it, and it's really cool. So that's what I'm using on. It's that arcade. I used it on. Did I use it on the UME over Unity? I think I used it on the Plasma Coil video, which came out week before this one. So you can hear it. It's a cool, but all these things, there's so many great creative things now, different tools. Which model of the Sir Badger do I like or use the most? Says Fender Fan. I would say the most versatile is the 30. So the 30 does to me like a really nice clean, and it's a great pedal platform, and then also does a sort of credible Marshall drive. The 18 and the 35. The 35 sounds like a double power 18 really, and it's more of that middle ground EL84, really friendly edge of breakup sound. And there's almost no better amp for that. I mean, like when you think Americana kind of edge of breakup, I know it's sort of British EL84, but that, if you're trying to play like country rock or, anything in the realm of like a Sheryl Crow kind of like thing or something, and get that slightly, like I'm thinking right now in my head, the guitar tone on If It Makes You Happy by Sheryl Crow or something. To me, that's like the 18. I mean, he probably didn't use anything like that on the record, but it's like that's the that's that sound. You want that telly or the position 2 or 4 Strat thing with a little bit of edge and breakup on it, but it's real smooth. That's the thing the 18 and the 35 do really well. Heavier distortion than that or more clean than that, I would recommend the 30. So overall, I would say the 30 is the most versatile for whatever reason. And incidentally, cathode bias on the 30, not a lot of people know this, but when I picked mine up, we tried this. You can throw 5881s in the Badger 30, and it just works. Maybe ask Sir customer service, but that we did it, and they actually sent me off with a pair. I think said if you want to try them, and it sounds slightly different. A little more what you would expect, a little more mid scooped, and gets a little more Fendery, for lack of a better thing. Got an 09 American Telly that won't stay in tune, says Craig Flowers. I would recommend Big Ben's Nut Sauce or the Diodario equivalent. Diodario equivalent. Whenever I try and write Diodario or Diodario in my phone, it changes it to another Italian name. And I think like that's a Siri, or maybe not Siri, but stupid iPhone thing. Because that's going to offend other Italians. It changes it to some other name. It's like, it's a name, obviously. Come on, don't spell correct names. I digress. Try the stuff in the, have somebody look at the nut, first of all. Maybe you can get rid of the string tree if it's got one, because I don't really see, on many guitars with string trees, I find if you just wind the G, for example, all the way down, or the B sometimes quite far down, you can get away with taking the tree off, and that eliminates one point of friction. And then if you also make sure the guitar is intonated properly, because that's a big thing. Sometimes if the intonation's out, especially on a Telly with a 3-barrel kind of bridge or whatever, it's tough because it's always a compromise. So try and intonate it. And sometimes I'm like, man, this thing, and then I'll check the intonation and go, oh, the D is way out or whatever. And there's the problem, Seems like the guitar is going out of tune, but it's just the intonation's off, and it's never going to play in tune, really. That it's always a balance because the guitar is never perfect. It's an imperfect thing. Vincent is in the top chat. Vincent, thank you very much. You say you weren't talking about my car. You were talking about the red version of my Sir guitar. Is it available yet? Yes, it's available for order. Because Sir has got the quality problem of always being somewhat back ordered. Dealers ordered a ton of them, but they're, it's probably getting to the point now where there's going to be some coming out. I just don't know. You'd have to ask dealers if they've ordered one. I know when we announced it, a lot got ordered. So and what the time frame is for them coming out. But yeah, if you check with a dealer on the East Coast, because you're on the East Coast, I think, right? Check with a couple dealers and say, do you have one on order, and what's the approximate time frame when they would, because they can look up that stuff up now, like when they'll get one. Your email was about home studio setup. Quick version: best way to set up multiple amps, pedals when you have too much gear. Well, multiple amps. I mean, the switching, having a switcher like what I've got with the Pete. I've got an 8-switch Pete. If you've got even, he makes a 4-switch one if you've got less amps. It's a nice way to, basically you plug your guitar cable into the front of the switcher, and then the switcher's plugged into all the amps, and you can just select which amp you want to use at that point. So that works really nice for a simple home studio setup. and you select which cab output you want. You can have a couple cabs. Pick a cab first, and then pick which amp you want. Just push buttons right on the front of the unit up there. You can kind of see it up there on top of my rack. So imagine just having, it's like these are the cabs on this side right here, and there's 8 of them, and then there's 8 amps. So it's like, oh, I want to use that cab or load, and then I want amp number 3. Boom, just push the button, and then it's on. It's all buffered and everything, so you're running into it's got a nice input buffer. So I would just have your pedals on a nice board with a switcher. My room is such a mess right now, it's crazy, but I've got my pedal board down here, and I can run my guitar basically through my desk here, but then out to my pedal board, and then go to the front of the switcher, and then check, within 10 minutes I could have it hooked up right. It's just all torn up right now with pedals on the floor and stuff. I wanted to just for a second mention, I'm not going to dwell on this, and I don't want to sound like I'm complaining at all, because I'm not. This is all quality problems. I'm so behind on things right now, like pedal videos. And I know no people that send me the pedals and stuff to make videos are going to probably necessarily watch this, but I'm just venting a little bit. And I was thinking of making a video about it. I'm just really behind, and I've got a week of clinics next week. Then I'm back in town for a week, and then I go out for Asia. And there's just no way to do everything. I want to go do the clinics. It's really bad, and it's fun, and I can't, it's awesome to have that going on. It's great. But of course, it does prevent me from making videos. And I've got a lot of pedals here, and I'm in this state, and I bet a lot of people out there feel this maybe right now, because I've talked to a lot of friends about it. But I'm in a constant sort of state of anxiety lately. Where I always feel like I'm letting people down. Does anybody else feel that out there? I know I think it's a common condition. I was actually talking with John the other day about it, with John Sir, and he mentioned to me that things used to happen slow, like you had to deal with mail, for instance. There was no way around it. FedEx was as fast as it got. There was no email. But now with this instant now kind of stuff, anybody can reach you instantly via text, via email, and a lot comes at you, like work opportunities, things, and questions, and it's all just this constant thing, right? And I'm just in a situation right now where there's a tour coming up in January, where there's material to learn. I've got a session that I've really got to knock out for somebody, because I keep putting it off, and I feel bad about that. So I feel like I'm letting him down, not getting his guitar parts done. I've got tons of videos to make, and I've got clinics, and ton in Asia in like 8 countries, and then 3 in the States and stuff. And I'm just backed up, and I feel like this constant low level. So I'm thinking about making a YouTube video about it, actually, because like I say, I'm not complaining, but it is just a plight, and I know a lot of you feel the same thing, because there's a lot of you out there that are probably musicians. There's a lot of people that are doctors or lawyers, or you've got other jobs and things, and I think this is something we feel in all professions, right? Where there's just it's like this low-level anxiety, or maybe mid-level anxiety, hopefully not high-level, all the time. And I hate feeling like I'm letting people down, but I'm going to get to... My thing with the videos is I do everything. I do all the editing. When I went to Bob's yesterday, he was like, man, you really need an assistant. Like, if you're doing all this stuff, I think he's used to, like if somebody's coming over to do a video, there would be a pro camera crew coming in and all this stuff. And when people see the way I do things, with coming in with my own cameras and moving some janky lights around and stuff, he was probably like, dude, what are you doing? Like, doing everything on your own. And then I'll knock it out, and I'll do all the edits and everything and get it, and it'll be cool. But it's my thing. You guys see my videos, they're kind of homebrew. And anyways, just a little aside on where I'm at, mentally and stuff right now, going into the end of the year. It's like, I gotta slow it down a little bit, or find better. The part of the video was I was going to ask in the comments, is anybody out there got some good books or skills or anything they can recommend for better time life management? Because I know there's probably some successful folks out there that have some good. I'm not the best at it, Anyway, it's just a little, just being honest, telling you where I'm at. And if anybody is watching this, is waiting for a video, I will get it done, and I will get it done as soon as I can. But it's just, there's only so many hours in the day when you got to do everything, write the songs, record everything, make the video, edit it, and then there's sessions and other things happening. But anyways, Craig Flower says Fender tuners slipping. That's on that telly. Tuners don't really slip, to be honest. It's other points on the guitar. Like even the crappiest tuners, most people will tell you they don't slip, but It's all the friction points on the guitar, like the string tree and the nut. If the string gets caught up there at all, if you bend and then the string pulls through because you're bending, right? So you're shortening the string, and then you release the bend, and now the string's caught in the nut because you pulled it through and it kind of gets stuck there, right? Now you've got that happening, and then if you yank the string, then it'll pull through the nut and probably go flat. And it's like, so it's all those friction points on the guitar mixed with intonation. Generally speaking, it's the contact points that you got to look at when you feel like there's slippage or string or things going out of tune and stuff. So like, that's why on this guitar with this bridge, it solves so much of the tuning issues. Because what happens is on a regular Strat bridge, the strings breaking across, pretend that my bridge has got the locks, pretend it doesn't, right? The strings with the most tuning problems, you'll probably notice on a Strat with a traditional vibrato, generally speaking, if it's got a good slippery nut and locking tuners, something like a Sir, right? But it's got a traditional 510 bridge. If there is some tuning issues, what you're going to find is you'll drop it, and it's going to be the E and the G, and they're going to come back sharp. Because what happens is you drop the string, and then it gets like it lifts off the saddle. The reason is because the E and the G in particular are the strings with the lowest tension because of the notes that they're tuned to and the gauges of the strings. So if you drop them, the B, the E, the D, the A, they make more contact with the saddle, but these guys actually lift up a little bit. And then as you bring it back, after they lift up, you bring the bar back and they make contact with the saddle again, and now they're in a slightly different place than they were a second ago. And that's why when you lock the string in the bridge, now you've eliminated that lift, and that there's only thing in between here and the tuners, of course, on a Sir guitar is the nut. And so as long as the nut doesn't bind and it's really slippery, it's got to be, this is a Tusk nut, so it's good. Even with these, I can hear occasionally a little bit of ping or something going on in the nut, even with a slippery self-lubricating nut like the Tusk. So I'll use occasionally, if I want ultimate tuning stability, I'll still use a little big bends or something, even in one of these, but generally speaking, they're fine. The point is you want no points of contact between the two locks, no place that the string can touch. And then that's why a Floyd stays in tune, as long as the knife edges are good, because that's the other thing. Knife edges on a Floyd where that's making contact, or on this bridge, those knife edges have to be sharp and dialed in, and there can be no friction, so that that bridge, that the point of equilibrium isn't interrupted by some sort of, it's all about friction, with this stuff. Same thing with a Les Paul, of course, on a Les Paul, the stability, or any kind of Gibson, is all about this, and the break angle. So this guitar, this is my Yaron. I have to use some stuff in the nut. It's got a nylon nut on it because it's a traditional material that Gibson used to use in the 50s. And he cuts his nuts really well, but there's still a little bit of, friction in a nut like this with the breakout angle of the strings going through the nut. So you want a nut that's cut with just a little bit of angle on it. A good tech can take care of that if you got any kind of Gibson that you have issues with. And then if you put the slippery stuff in the nut, all of a sudden your string tuning issues get like 85% better. Still not great on any kind of Les Paul guitar, but look at that thing. I love this guitar. Yeah, baby. Come on. I forget sometimes, and I pick it up and I'm like, damn, it's nice. It's getting pretty beat. It's like getting all thrashed down there and stuff. It started out that way. I mean, it was aged, but it's getting more so with age. I've had a long time now, since 2011 or something. 2012 maybe. Really? Maybe 2013. I know I had it from Milan's Farmers Tour. That's the first tour I did using that guitar. That was 2013. So maybe it was 2013. Guitarist only happy with his tone temporarily, says Alvin. That's true. Dealing with difficult sound guys and bandmates, says Saint-Pierre Set. Well, I'll touch on that in a minute. There's somebody in the top chat there I want to get to. It's Alex B. Pete, just wanted to say thanks so much for responding so quickly to my question the other day about my Axe 3 and studio monitor options. Thanks for sharing so much wisdom. He was asking if I like my Barefoot MM45s. I do. They're fantastic monitors. I also use Atom A7s. And I was also saying, focals are nice. had good experience with those. Really like the sound of the focals. They're quite reasonable in price. But the Barefoots and the Adams are the ones I have in my studio. There's lots of good things out there. Thanks, Alex, for doing the top chat. I really appreciate that. You're too kind. And there's somebody else up there. It's Jason Wade. What's up, Jason? He says, check out Udemy and Skillshare sites. They have some good time management courses for free. Thank you. I'm going to take a picture of that so that I remember the names of the things you're recommending. That's awesome, Jason. Thanks. And you didn't have to do the top chat to tell me that, because I should do top chat for you. Live chat, top chat, whatever it's called. The thing where somebody sends me cash. I appreciate it, Jason. That's I will check those out. Thanks, man. That's awesome. Rob Cunningham says, I see you using the Sterling ribbon mic a lot. Yeah, I like it. How would you compare it to a Royer? Seems like a great mic for the price. Exactly. It is. A Royer 121 is a really lovely mic. It's a lot of money. Not a lot of money, but $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 or something there, something like that. And I also really like my M160, which I have down on my little Fender down here. Like, I got it on that little Princeton that I have, and I did the guitar, stereo pair of rhythm guitars for the song that I mixed at Bob's yesterday, and he did mention to me, he says, I don't even touch these guitars with EQ, they just sound great. So I used my Telly in the middle position through the Princeton with the ribbon mic dead center back about, I guess it's back about, well, not even that far back, it's back about 6 inches or something from the amp. And he's like, yeah, these guitars are, it's just clean, nothing, like no, I used a little DBX compression after the microphone, my 560A up here in my rack, which I rarely use, but man, does it sound good. Works great. Good old DBX compressor. And it sounded great. So, and those mics are $500-$600. The M160, it's a classic ribbon, great sounding mic. You can use them on all kinds of stuff. They were the overheads on When the Levee Breaks for the drums. Also good on that. I hope I didn't just miss somebody in the top chat. I don't think so, but no, I don't think I did. There's somebody else. Old Guy's Guitar Vlog. What's up, man? Up in that top chat. He says, the number one way to cut your anxiety with workflow is to pay others to do things that take you the most time and cost you the most in resources. I think that's great advice, man. And I think you're right. I mean, if anything, it's like interns or different people I could get to, to help. And I know Tim Pierce is all about that. He's really good about it. He's like, I am not opposed to paying people. I completely agree. I mean, especially when it comes to like doing things like things that I'm not good at doing that you can pay somebody to do, like tons of, home improvement things would fall under that category, flooring or something. I'm all about paying somebody and paying them completely fair amount to do a job that I just, if I can be off making money doing the thing I'm good at while they're doing that, awesome. And I think that's a great piece of advice. And I think it almost does really come down to that. Like I need to knock out some of this work while I find some good people to do a few things that I need done. And I think that's all great advice. Thanks, guys. You guys are helping me out today. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to take you up on that. Okay, I better move down in the chat a little here. Sorry, I almost missed a question. Somebody asked a question about dealing with difficult sound guys and bandmates. That was Saint-Hier Set. Sorry. Well, I tell you this. I'm sort of like realizing this week. How you got to relearn things sometimes. Expecting people to do things that they can't do, or that when they're just it's not our job to change people. You can challenge people. I remember a long time, a good friend of mine said, you can challenge people to grow when you sense something, but it's not your job to you know how it is. People are going to do what they're going to do, and they have to really want to be different or whatever. And if you kind of take that whole, like the power of now, stand above the situation and look down on it, perspective on things, and, realize when somebody's difficult, maybe you just have a difference of opinion, yeah. It's like, this gets into the self-help stuff of like trying to recognize when folks are like how to win favor over people, or how to negotiate. Those types of books, probably good for you to check out when it comes to how to come up with a favorable outcome when you're in a negotiation. Those types of things might be of your benefit. Like trying to. I generally find patience with people, and when I sense somebody's got anxiety and they're asking me something, I try these days. It could be as simple as turn your guitar down on stage, or is there a way that we can, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. I'll try and tend to just with humor and a very chill sort of, hey, great. Yeah. Oh, it's no problem. We'll figure out a solution, like let's solve the problem together. Let's figure out a way. For instance, if somebody's like, turn your guitar down, you feel like it's already quiet, but you maybe look back and you realize that your amp is pointing somewhere straight in the direction of the front of house. You say, would you mind if let me try and just angle this a little bit so that it's not beaming right at you or something. You try and come up with a compromise solution, as opposed to just like, no, man, that's my tone or whatever. It's all in the way you say something. And in showing them that you want to work with them to solve the issue, but maybe there's another way to go about it or something, difficult bandmates. It's tough because Tom High is in the top chat. He says the smartest person in the room knows how to find the best person for each job. It's like, this is great advice. And it's like, these are things I know, that it's like delegating is really important to people you trust. And I think you're absolutely right. Maybe it's just like the control freak nature in me. I just like keep doing everything myself, because there is a part of, I also do believe in, like, you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. It's kind of the John Suhr mentality when it comes to, like, for example, it's why he's, finishing all the auras himself, because he wants that. He can't put it out if it's not absolutely perfect to his spec, which is why he's a guitar making rock star legend. And it's also why the guitars are taking a while to get done. He will be the first one to tell you that, you're going to end up, if you ordered one or whatever, or buying one with a guitar that is unbelievable at the end of the day, but you just wait for it. And I guess that's like, it's the same. If somebody wants one of my videos right now, like, there's nothing I can do. There's only one of me. It's like, I'm backed up making videos, and I appreciate that anybody cares and wants me to do it, but it just takes time. That's all. There's no way around it. Yeah. Okay. So, but thanks again for all the advice, guys. I appreciate it. I do. BC Rich says 30 years on, and the first bass I ever owned still plays the best to me, even though I ended up buying 13 others to realize this fact. If anyone wants to lend me a time machine. Yeah, I know, it's true, right? When I think about my buddy John Button, I see him out playing bass with the Who, and it always strikes me that he's still got that 64 P bass that he had when he was opening for the band I was on tour with in 2000 or 98 or whenever the first tour I did, that we were on the same gig. And there's that P bass, he just plays it. My friend Dan Rothschild, who I did Melissa Etheridge's tour with, he was in it for the first run. He's got a 71 or maybe 69 P bass or something that he's played his entire career. I mean, he's like 50 something, and he's been playing that bass for like 30 years. And it's got a beer opener on the front of it drilled into it, so you can pop a beer on right on the bottom, and it's all the finish is gone, and and that's his bass, and it's just like, that's his axe. Bass players are smart that way, though, because it's kind of like, if you're a P bass kind of bass player and you're a good bass player, it's like you probably recognize that that's your ride. It's a little like Stevie Ray Vaughan with the Strat or something. It's like, that's the sound, and I can mess around with other things, but it's all, that's just toying around, like, and the P bass is always what it comes back to. So anyways, what kind of bass is it? BC Rich? Maybe it's a BC Rich. Whatever your that first thing, it's pretty interesting. Leo's saying 300K will cut some of that. Yeah, we're talking about the fella that had the JB and then moved to a lower output 7.9K kind of vintage PAFE style pickup and finds it really bright with 500K pots. 300K will tame some of the top end for sure. You might want to just experiment with the tone control, though. I believe in letting the pickup speak, as much as possible. And I don't like 300K pots. I don't like the idea of cutting output or shaving things from, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't like capacitance and cables. I'd rather turn the treble down on the amp, rather turn the tone down on the guitar, but let the thing just be wide open when I want it to be. I don't know. That's just me. The more outlandish my rig gets, the more satisfying I find the straight-in sound, says Hobo Roadie. Totally. Sometimes it's great to just plug straight in and realize that direct thing is really cool. Yep. Maybe Landau, and I mean, definitely Landau has it all figured out, but saw him play on Friday. Oh, God. Did anybody go? Anybody out there see Mike play last night or Friday? He's so awesome. But I mean, the whole like running your effects, your wet stuff into another amp and leaving the other one dry is just so brilliant. Sounds so good. Same thing Scott Anderson does. Isaiah Samir Music is in the top chat. He says he's got a project studio and he removed his tube amps. Wants a great tube preamp for guitar and bass. Or should I invest in a Helix rack or floor? Hey man, I love the Helix rack for bass specifically. It's got great guitar sounds in it too. It's a great modeler. But if you listen to the demo I just did for the Source Audio Collider, the bass sound on there. Check out the bass sound. That's one of my Helix presets. It's killer. It's the stock IR too. It's a bass 400 with the 215 cabinet, I think, that I've got grinded up kind of a little bit driving, so it's a little dirty. Man, it sounds good. It sounds great. Like, it's a really good bass thing. Bass tone. And no problems with the Helix. Of course, I'm going to recommend the PT15 for your studio because it's going to give you, a all tube versatile option. You can run bass through the clean channel too if you want to get an amped up. It's got plenty of low end and it sounds nice for bass. So go tubes or maybe get a Helix. The other thing I recommend is the like UA plugins, like the B15 is really beautiful for bass, and the PT 100 plugins great for guitar. So there's that route too for studio. Dude, there's so many options you can do for great sounds these days. Honestly. Okay. Why, when you're live outdoor, you've always got a glass of white and at home a tea? Is that me? Are you asking me? Like, do I always? I guess I do. I do play gigs, and I generally have a glass of wine. I don't know. Maybe you're not talking about me though. I don't know. That's Paolo. And then I drink coffee here. Yeah. Can't day booze or wouldn't get anything done. Occasionally you can day booze. When you became an American, did they give you a gun? Says Robbie Rose. No. It's a very capitalist country, so you still got to go buy that if that's what you want. Experimentation leads to experience, says Hobo Roadie. Agreed. Always be nice to sound guys, says Adam, especially the first time meeting. Circles are tight. If you alienate an in-crowd person, you're screwed. Even if they want a great... Yeah, it works both ways, though, Adam, I would say. Like a lot of local sound guys, if they're like if it's a sound guy that's really, that it's the jerks that are the problem, right? We've all experienced that. And they're the local dudes at clubs, and they just scream at people and have their, attitudes. Or folks that work in local clubs. Many times I've done... because it's like, God, after you've done your career for a while and you build a reputation, and it's like, okay, I've been on the road and done this and done that, and done a few things. And then you go to some local club and the guy's like, turn that guitar down. I ain't going to work. Or they, or they get, I remember one guy, like the Viper Room, which I'd played 1 million times, right, in LA. And they go through a lot of sound guys. And I remember saying, can I get some kick drum in the monitor, please? We don't do that here. Came back through the monitor. It's like, oh, really? Because I remember being here 4 months ago and they put kick in the monitor. What do you mean you don't do that here? What the fuck is the monitor for? But anyway, that attitude, right? And we all, we don't do that here. And really what he was trying to say is, hey, we've had problems like with the monitors blowing up and too much, because that was what was going on. And so we've decided to, it's a weird solution to not put any drums in the monitors. Like, come on, some people want drums in the monitors, but once again, there's a nice way to say things, right? It's like I was saying earlier. You say, yeah, I'll give you a little bit. We've had some issues lately with but I just got to keep it under control or whatever. And I would be like, oh, no problem, but we don't do that here. And then I make a mental note. That guy is not going to have a future in this business. He's not going to get outside of this club, like, because you're right. The circles are tight. And it's like, if I ever was doing a tour and somebody said, oh, we're thinking about bringing in this guy on the crew, I'd be like, that guy's an asshole and he's not an easy guy to work with, So that's, once again, my whole don't be a jerk, So it's all about that kind of, the way you say things is so important. You don't want to get to that. If you get to that point where you're jaded and you're being, unreasonable by saying things like, we don't do that here. And I could say that too. Turn your guitar down up there. It's too loud. We don't do that here. And then I'm going to have a bad rep, right? But you just have to approach it from a diplomatic, yeah, let's work on it. Let's figure out a solution, because there's always a solution, I think. So unless you're like King's X, I remember if you watch the video I did with Doug Pinnick where he talks about it, and he's like, when they got their new sound guy, who's excellent. No, he's not. He's been with them for 20 years now or something. But he's like, man, you got to turn the bass down up there because it's just too loud. And he goes, nope, build the mix around it, And if you're in your own band and you're Doug Pinnick, you can do that. And when you go see King's X, they sound amazing live, and the bass coming off the stage sounds ferocious and incredible. So it's a little like that thing. If you're Eddie Van Halen, or it's like, no, build around me because I am that good. You can be that guy if you are that good, and if it's your band, and if you're hiring the people, right? Then it's like, no, this is I've fought hard to get to the point where we're going to do things my way. It's like Henley. I mean, he wants things the way he wants them. No sound guy is going to tell him, like if he's like, why is there so much bass up here? Turn the subs down. It doesn't matter if the front of house guy's like, but it sounds great. I've got a mix dialed in or whatever. It's like, turn them down. You turn the subs down, Why are there lights right in my face? And the guy's like, already, he's gotten up on the ladders and moved all the lights around and everything. And he's like, turn those off now. Right? You're not going to argue with that, right? It's like, I remember the best advice from a sound guy to a light guy that was a hired guy on a gig with him, where the guy said, just it'd be best if he just doesn't notice the lights. It's like, it's true. He wants things the way he wants them, And so if you're in that position where you can afford to, you're hiring everybody, you're paying the bills, right? You're signing the checks, so then you can say whatever you want. Anyways, okay, what do we got now? I'm gonna move to the bottom of the chat, guys. So I'm sorry if I missed anything here. Odin Stan says that pedal show got themselves an intern to help with video editing. I think that's a good idea. Just saw that bass with the bottle opener, Dan Rothschild, killer. That's Mike. Yeah. Dan's a great bass player. Incidentally, his father recorded and I guess produced, mixed, I don't know, but recorded the Doors. So he's got the Rothschild family got a history in classic LA rock and roll, and Dan's had a long career. He plays with I can't remember. It's with Nancy Wilson, and he was also playing bass with Hart for a long time. So he's a great bass player, and he's done a ton of gigs. Really terrific musician, great singer too. Glenn says he likes multiple gain options on his board: compressor, clean boost, green pedal, amp like overdrive, options for different gigs, different rooms, different amps. I guess I do that too. Compressor, boost. Right now I've got the super clean exotic on there. I've got the Wampler Ego Comp. I've got a Bogner Blue single. I've got a Jan Ray. And I've got a Archer on my main board. We'll see if those stay for my tour in January, which I got to start getting ready for here pretty quick. When I get back from my clinics next week, I'll start making sounds and stuff. And my goal is to get back from my clinics that I got to do and dive straight into learning a bunch of material for my tour in January, and also finish at least 4 videos that week for folks that are waiting for pedal videos. Let's talk about some of the pedals I got to do, because I got a bunch of them here. I still should knock one out for this, because these guys, Cali 76, this is the dual Cali 76. It's called the Stacked Edition. This thing sounds great. two 1176s running in series into one another, and it's just a lovely compressor. I did a video for this week. You guys saw that already, the Collider. If you haven't checked it out, please give it a listen. This is a terrific delay and reverb in one box, 56-bit processing. Sounds wonderful. Really cool. Okay, so I want to show you a couple of the other pedals here I'm talking about that I haven't been able to get to videos yet. I'm sitting right here, and they sit. Maybe this is why I'm feeling this anxiety, because they stare at me every day. Okay. These are all some nice drives. This is from McPherson, and they put my name on there, which I really appreciate, on the one they sent me. This is a great sounding drive pedal. Really, really, really good sounding drive pedal. And I'm not sure if it's called, I got to look in the email and see if it's called something else, but McPherson. Very nice sounding drive pedal. Okay. There's this pedal from Seafoam, the Trident. This nice fellow's been waiting for a video from me for a long time, and I've got to get it done. It's not going to happen before I get back, but another week, and this will be the next one I do. What the Trident is he designed this pedal to sound like a bunch of different drives, so that you can get the sounds of, say, a TS9 or something by setting the knobs a certain way, or you can get the sounds of other drives by setting the knobs and the switches a certain way. And it comes with a handy card that gives you all it's got a bass, mids, treble, and then 3 different volume controls on it, or 3 different drive controls, excuse me, that allow you to fine tune the sound of the pedal. So that's the Trident, really good sounding. This is the Red Rocks from Donner Prince. Also, I plugged in all these drives, like this one in particular, the McPherson, and then there's one more I've got here that I've misplaced now. Here it is. This I used in the Collider video, the Magellan. You can hear this on the Dirty Rhythm guitars. Great sounding pedal. This is a really good. We got a beautiful flame maple piece of wood on it. The Magellan, the dynamic drive from Humboldt. It's a really, really, really good sounding drive pedal. So I want to get to this in a week as well when I'm back. I don't know. They're making some good pedals these days. Okay. 2 from Crazy Tube Circuits. It's the Cyclone. This is a phaser that has all kinds of different settings. You can see here in the middle, 45, 90. What are some of the other ones? ST, LT. Maybe that's like, not sure exactly what that stands for. I'm going to have to find out. But different, so you can get sounds of a bunch of different phasers with this one. And then this is another Crazy Tube Circuits right here called the Sidekick. Okay, this pedal, very interesting pedal that has mod in it. It's got flanger chorus with a speed and depth control. Sounds lovely and lush. It's got a reverb, and then it's got a delay. But there's some other neat features on it, like it's got a speaker sim out, okay, with a DI out. So I think the thinking with this is that you could use this with something like a preamp pedal, or maybe you got an overdrive that's kind of ampy, like a BEOD or something. And then this has a speaker simulator on, so you could run your drive or preamp style pedal into this. This would handle all your delay and mod, and then you've got a speaker sim output that you could run out DI to front of house or to a recorder if you want to. You don't have to use that though. You can use it just like a multi-mod pedal, either in an effects loop or it's even got a headphone jack on it. So it's like a little like modulation / speaker sim box, essentially, to be the back end of a pedal board that maybe when you're not going to use an amp style thing, or if you want to use an amp, you can. So that's this one. Simple, it's really great sounding pedal, like everything from Crazy Tube Circuits. I've never tried one I didn't like. Okay. So that's some of the pedals I was mentioning that I've got to get to, and just gotta get them done. One more here. This guy, Edlon, Dunable Edlon. This one I got to get to. This one I haven't been able to try yet. So this came a little while ago. As soon as I can, I'm just gonna bury myself in here for that week before I go to Asia, and knock out as many videos as I can. I try and be as efficient as I can. And, maybe I will get somebody to edit them, somebody else, and I'll just record the songs, record the music and all that, and do that. And then I'll be able to get more done. So we'll see. All right. Thanks for listening to that diatribe. Did I see which delay that Landau used? I didn't actually look at his board the other day. I assume he's probably still using the, he's always got the timeline, and then he's got does he have a El Cap or a timeline? think it's timeline generally. And then he's got a expression pedal tied to it, so you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. His delay sounds are always great. And his fuzz and everything. God, he sounded good, man. He's such a great guitar player. He's my favorite guitar player. I think he's the best guitar player on earth. I really do. I mean, he's just the best communicator on electric guitar that I've ever seen, probably. I've never seen anybody speak like he speaks through a guitar. I wish I could achieve that at some point, but I've got my own thing and I'm getting more comfortable with that for sure. Clear Mountain yesterday, he was like, man, this guitar solo on this song, he says it in the video. He's like, this is a beautiful guitar solo. But it's a written solo, it's more of a thing where I planned it out and I played it and it is a really nice, I'm very proud of it. When I listened to it, I did it in 2012. It's like, man, that's a really good solo, but it's a different thing, that thing that I'm doing, where I take my time to sit, it's a written thing and then I executed it well and recorded it with a really nice tone. So I look forward to people hearing it, because I'm gonna put out that song as a single, and it's got me singing on it. It'll be the first thing anybody hears me sing. It's like a little folk rock song or something, but with a nice solo on it and beautiful harmonies from Holly Henderson. I'm proud of it. I think it sounds pretty darn. I mean, with Bob mixing, it's definitely. But what's my point? My point is, it's a different style. It's a different style of writing a solo, and I think it's just as valid in many ways. Writing the Comfortably Numb solo, or Stairway to, not Stairway to Heaven so much. Maybe that was improvised, or maybe not. Maybe he planned it out. But certainly Hotel California. That style of writing a solo. It's one way to go, and they are maybe some of the most memorable solos of all time because you've written it. It's more of a part than a solo, isn't it? But Landau, to communicate like that, like in real time from your brain coming through the speaker, I've never seen anybody better. And it's not shreddy or too many notes. And everybody that goes there and sees him play at the Baked Potato knows it. And they're all there for the same reason, because it reminds us of when we were kids and we were jazzed on guitar for the very first time. You're that excited watching him play. Even if you're in your 40s or your 50s or your 60s or whatever, you're just like, you're moved and you feel younger for a second. I don't know how else to describe it. It turns you on in a way that he connects and communicates in a way that is on such a high level that it locks you into that first thing of what got you jazzed about guitar. And he just hits on that continuously, and it's like getting a fix. I don't know how else to describe it. It's so magic. He's really, really a special musician. But anyways, if wireless has no capacitance, says Craig Flowers, then why isn't it more widely used? People like chords despite the resistance. Well, that's true, Craig, but Angus Young used wireless. That's the whole Schaefer replica thing, right? He liked the tone of, the extra kind of boost that his wireless gave him. I think the reason that people don't use cables have a cool sound. Don't get me wrong. A little bit's cool, like a little bit of the capacitance. And that's why on some of these wireless systems, like in the Line 6 or whatever, the cable tone thing where you can dial in a little bit of it. It's when you go beyond 18 feet or so that it gets to be too much. So that's all. I love the sound of a cable doing a little bit of its thing. I like the sound of a 500K pot. I don't like the sound of a 1 meg pot, which is going to be wide open even more, right? So it's just a little fine tuning of, the guitar. I mean, I like the sound of a guitar speaker and not a PA speaker with a distorted amp coming through it. Incidentally, I know a guy that likes the sound of PA speakers. He used to play distorted rock guitar through full range speakers. And that was his thing. He's like, I love it. I was like, wow. And we were all like, wow, maybe you stood in front of too many loud amps or something, but he liked that sound. So it's all a balance. I don't disagree with you, but I mean, wireless, do you use a buffer on your board? I mean, there's a whole explosion of, this buffered, that buffered. It's like, if you use a buffer someplace on your board, you're eliminating all the capacitance after that, right? Just don't get me wrong. It's like John Suhr says, he's like, figure out the cable that you like, the sound, like how much capacitance you like, and use that. And then after that, buffer for the rest of the chain. That's his thing. And I totally agree with that, That's the formula. I hear the Dirty Shirley is great for bass, says L. Scott Music. I could see that. I mean, it's kind of JCM 800E in the front end, and then like a sort of tube rectified, more like a GTM 45 in the power amp. So I realized on your Collider video, I noticed your black signature guitar had no pickup rings, but the updated Wilkinson trim. That's Steve Kelly. That's true. The black guitar is the original prototype kind of for the PT model. So it doesn't actually, I'm too lazy to go over there and get it, but it doesn't, no, I'm not. It doesn't have rings, and the rings came later. The thing with the rings was I wanted to do something a little different visually than what you could get in a standard Sir. It does look nice, but I'm actually really used to on my guitar the rings now. So I just was like, I'm not going to add rings to it. It's got the direct mount pickups, and so this guitar's got John's signature on the back of the headstock, not mine. Because I remember the day I had him sign it. Here, sign it, man. Come on. And then he grabbed his silver pen and does his thing, which you can always request, by the way, on any Sir guitar. If you want John to sign it, he'll do that. But yeah, and then I had them update it with a Thornbucker Plus in the bridge, because originally it had a regular Thornbucker, and then I had them put the new bridge on it. So it's this, and this one has the original 6105 style medium jumbo frets. So the only difference is the rings and the frets from a signature model, one of my signature models. That's the only difference. Otherwise, it's the same. Yeah. I love that guitar though. Still, I like them all. They're all great. I haven't played the gold one for a while. It's still got my gold has the 510 bridge on it, and I need to get the updated bridge on it, and then I'll start using it again constantly, I'm sure. Because the gold one is actually my first guitar I got with the big frets, so it's got big frets in it. Did you update the trim on an old prototype? Yeah, exactly. That is what I did, Steve. Yeah. Michael Landau in Austin, or Miss Landau in Austin, says Mike had no idea until after I heard Eric Johnson said, and that would have been amazing to see. Yeah. Philip Sace, great guitar player, said he practices minimalism and only uses 4 guitars: Strat, backup Strat, SG, and Dobro style acoustic. That's Tom. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, Philip's an amazing guitar player, and he definitely old school. When it comes to how he gets a sound, and he plays loud. Man, does he play loud? I know, because he rehearses by here, and I hear him. You can almost hear him through the walls. Great guitar player. Yeah. Okay. Moving down. Looking for another. Carl King's book. So you're a creative genius. Now what? Is wonderful and full of time management wisdom. Wow, that's good. That's Shane Sanders. I'm going to take another photo of that. This is my easy way to remember these things. I'll pick up that book. Thanks, Shane. I appreciate that. Perfect reading for airports and airplanes. Yeah, that's the thing. When I get a lot of my emails done these days, like, because I'll let emails pile up too for like a week before I get to them, is on planes, because they all download into my phone. So then and I hate email. I really do. But it's like, I'll go, oh God, okay. And then I'll open up the email on my phone, and then I'll answer every single one. And of course, I'm on the plane, so the email doesn't work unless I have Wi-Fi. But I'll just do all my emails on the plane. I'll force myself to spend 45 minutes just typing through every email and every single response I can, paging back through the last couple of weeks of emails I've missed. And then I'll, sometimes some I answer right away, but other ones, as if anybody's tried to email me knows, sometimes it takes me a minute, and I'll do them all on the plane. And then I push send, and then they go into the outbox, but they don't send until the plane lands, and I turn on I get out of airplane mode, and then all the emails send out. So it's a good time to catch up on stuff. It's a good time to edit too, especially if you got a seat with a little bit of leg room, because you can work with your laptop. Good time to edit video. Okay. Okay. My wireless has freed me to do the unintentional spins I apparently can't stop doing no matter how quickly it tangles cords, says Craig Flowers. Liko Liev says, please don't let yourself burn out. I've been through anxiety and depression, and it's the most horrible experience one can get. Take care of yourself. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, anxiety sucks. Just feeling like letting people down, like you're constantly, I don't know what that, it's like just kind of, but it's business, right? Like if you take on a job, you got to get it done, but it's also hard because you're balancing business with doing something creative, which is creating videos and music and stuff, and it's like it's just this weird combo, I guess. The music business, the music instrument business. If I'm not mistaken, the Led Zepp Black Dog sound is an overdriven tube preamp channel strip, says John Turner. I'm not sure. Probably part of it, is is an amp mic'd up with driving the pre. Oh, Craig says the guitar plugs straight into the mixing board. Really? Really? I should listen to it. I kind of want to hear that and hear what it sounds like. Let me listen to Black Dog for a minute. It doesn't sound like that to me from memory. Like, really? Let's take a listen. If you guys will hear it or not, you probably will. Coming through all terrible. Hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove. Oh. The one in the left speaker. Yeah. But there's... Okay, wait. That's definitely DI. Okay. Amp in this side. Just less driven in the right. Interesting. Never noticed, but you're right. That's definitely DI and DI kind of distortion. I think the one in the right channel sounds a little warmer, but it's just a little cleaner. That's interesting. That's cool. By the way, that it always bugged me how this riff is on top right here. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but this is so on top right there, and like both of them are. I don't know. It just rushes right there, and that always bothered me. But it's part of the sound of the song, isn't it? You can't. We're not. Anyways, I never noticed that. Thanks for. I learning a lot today. I've learned a lot in the last couple of days, actually. But yeah, I know. I never even clued into that it was DI, but it's definitely DI. You're right. I never paid attention. One of those things. Not a sound that in listening to it right now. Not something that I would. Like I get what you're saying. It's a classic sound. You're recommending to the fellow that was wondering about for his studio what to get, and you were like, Black Dog is a tube preamp overdriven. Maybe just get that, like a good tube preamp. Not a sound you would use for a lot of stuff though. Like, okay, it's cool for an effect for that one kind of dirty DI thing. I would rather, yeah, it's cool to have a tube preamp. Maybe do that with. Kind of reminds me of the sound of the JHS. The pedal that's like a Neve pre, supposedly. I did a demo of it, I think. I can't remember the name of the pedal, but you guys know the one. It looks kind of like, it's like a console pre kind of. It kind of sounds like that, like an overdriven preamp. So you could kind of get that by running direct out of that right into your board, and it would be a kind of cheaper way. I think it's a couple $300 or something for that pedal, $200, whatever. That would be one way to get. You could probably nail that tone with that pedal because it distorted. It's like it's kind of an unpleasant sound, to be honest. In the context of Black Dog, I guess it works great. I don't know. But live, of course, he didn't do that. He was just playing a Les Paul into a Marshall, right? Tom says, I try to say things in my head before I say it to someone else. Some speech is not necessary. That's good advice. Like, a little bit of editing is, always a good thing, right? What advice do I have for starting session guitarists, says Levy? I would say it's complicated. These days, making sure you've got your, just make sure you got your shit together as far as musically. Be flexible. Always be, some of the most important things on sessions is to be flexible, work fast, be ready to switch up your ideas at a moment's notice. If somebody's like, that's not working, can you try something else? Don't get offended. Just try something else. That goes a long way. Have a cool little rig that is easy to get, up and running really quickly. If you can come in and make their job easier, be a problem solved, that's always a good thing, so anything you can do to do that. Yeah. Okay. Moving down in the chat. Gonna move down in the chat. And Metalhead Hippie's got a split. See you, man. Take care if you haven't split yet. Always good to see you here. Have I ever played a blanket chip amp, says Brad? Yeah, Variplex. And he worked on my Bassman and did some nice things to it. I know Roy. I haven't seen him for years, but he makes great stuff. He's a well-regarded amp builder and repair guy. Have I replaced my Strymons with Eventides? Well, no. I've got a Boss DD500 for a delay. I had the timeline before. Both are good, to be honest. And I've got a Strymon Mobius on my board still. Eventides, I've always had one on there, I guess, or can't remember. But must be playing in some kind of vintage plane if you've got legroom, says Craig. Well, like sometimes I'll try and get premium economy or move into the exit row, or it's an art form. When you fly all over the place, you're constantly, I'm not going to remember the name of it now. There's a great site that lets you look at the airline maps of, so it, you're flying on a 767-300 or whatever the hell they're called, on United Airlines or whatever, right? Well, you can look up on this Seat Guru, I think it's called. You can look up and see how they configure their planes. And it gives you ratings of all the different seats. It said, this is close to the galley, so you don't want one of those because it's noisy. This one is got less legroom. This one has, this row 17 has on United, 767, specifically to the model of the plane, it'll say this row has entertainment system boxes under the seat, which reduces the legroom. So don't get in row 16 or whatever, so you can actually really hone in when you're trying to pick a seat on a plane. I think it's seatguru.com. This is a good thing to, if you take anything away from this, take that away from it today. Seatguru.com. We're all helping each other out here today. I love this. Yep. Find your seat map. Find your seat map. Seat Guru. It's from TripAdvisor. Really, really great site. Really lets you helps you pick, when you're doing your seat selection. All right. Feel like Up in the Air. Remember that movie with George Clooney? It's like our lives as touring musicians and doing stuff, where it's just like all about working the angles of the frequent flyer and how to get into that club and how to, all that stuff. All right. I tell people, do what you do. Pete is a musician. He should play and leave the rest to others, says Old Guy's Guitar Vlog. Well, okay. So a big part of my clinic is how I've gotten to the point that I have gotten to is by doing a lot of things myself. And I say in the clinic, for anybody that's been to it, they'll know that I say, I've got good news and bad news for you. The bad news is you kind of have to do everything yourself. You have to learn how to mix. You have to learn how to write. You have to learn how to engineer. You have to learn how to video edit. You have to be your own promotion department. You have to know how to do all this stuff. Social media, doing this right now, knowing how to do a live stream. You have to know how to do all this stuff. The good news is you can do everything yourself. So that's my clinic. A big part of it is that a big part of why you guys know me is just because through being a self-starter and doing stuff, I've been able to get to the place where I built a little thing on my own, and folks know me as outside of the gigs I've done. Used to be 15 years ago, nobody knew who the hell I was. I was the guitar player that played with somebody, and so I was always relying on other people for work to hire me. Through doing my own thing and being kind of a self-contained thing, I had control all of a sudden over my own thing, and it's been a big part. You have to know how to do all this stuff these days and know how to mix and how to whatever in order to do that. I believe to you agree, unless you've got a lot of money and can hire people and pay people to do things. But yes, you're right. I've hit a point where there's a balance where now folks like that's why folks like Tim Pierce have folks that help him, or That Pedal Show's hiring editors, because you do hit a point where you just can't keep the output going and balance your life and have a nice, a little bit of downtime and, work 6 or maybe 5 days a week. Anyways, somebody said, Joe Harvey said, worst song ever. Are you talking about Black Dog? I like Black Dog. Not my favorite Led Zeppelin song, Rain Song is my favorite Led Zeppelin song, I think. Maybe No Quarter. Good stuff. Good stuff. Joe Harvey says he's a Britney Spears super fan. Hey, man, Toxic. I'm a sucker for Toxic. It's a hell of a song. Hell of a song and a hell of a production. Especially, it still sounds cutting edge. When it came out, it was like, oh my God, that is a brilliant production with the strings and everything. And a great song. It's probably got 8 writers on it or something, but that song is hooky as hell. Ugh. So good. The guy that mixed that album back in the day won't listen to it because he knows there's a bunch of mixing mistakes. Are you talking about Zeppelin? There's an extra beat in there that makes it strange. I think it's just rushed. What is it? Like the picks. It's like that second half of the. He starts rushing right there. That's the part I don't like. Lay back into that shit, but it's part of his feel. He just doesn't care, and that's part of what makes Page. But it's so on top right there. I don't mean to criticize Jimmy, but anyways. Listen to Good Times, Bad Times. There's some weird issues on that one too. Okay, so part of it is the magic of like just not giving a shit back in the day was great, right? They just knocked that stuff out in like a week. The Color Box, that's the one. The Color Box is the JHS pedal that's designed to simulate an old Neve console and overdriving it. I did a video of it. Don't think you're going to buy that pedal and that it's ever going to be clean. It's all about dirt. You can't get the sound of a clean Neve, like preamp or something. It's dirty, but it does kind of do that direct overdriven thing. If you're trying to get the sound of Helter Skelter or something, or I guess Black Dog, which I learned today. I've never even paid attention to it before, but you're right. That's definitely DI. You can just hear it. Oh boy. Wasn't Shine On You Crazy Diamond recorded DI? I don't know. Maybe parts. It's like the solo to, no, it was the solo to Another Brick in the Wall, right? Yeah. And probably a lot of the clean guitars. But the solo was DI, and then they felt like it was too dry, and they reamped it, and then they mixed the DI with the amp track. I don't know, maybe what's the song you were? Shine On You Crazy Diamond might be partially DI. I'm not sure. Joe Harvey says Kiss is overrated, just like EVH. EVH is not overrated. He's underrated. I'm going to go there. All right. Can you guys tell me right now on the bottom of the chat, when I played Black Dog, could you hear it? Somebody say yes or no through the speakers. I'm just not sure if it comes through. Yes. Says Stelfair. Okay. I'm going to give you an example of some EVH right now. underrated. Nobody talks about it. Gonna give you an example. First of all, the slap reverb. Harmonics on the bass. Avant-garde craziness. Now, nobody talks about ever Eddie's slide playing because he never did it, except for here. Listen to this melody. Now, here we go. Dirty Movies is the track. One of the only overdubbed solo things, too, on a Van Halen record. Okay. Now, this is cool. It's cool. Check this out. Just moved through like two different keys. Back to the hook. Slide. Okay, now let's go to the solo / bridge. Okay. Totally different vibe here. Moving back into the original key. Sorry, man. That nobody played hard rock like that other than him. It's high level shit. Like it's super high functioning musical rock and roll. It's proggy almost, you know. And I don't know. It's gorgeous with the slide and the B section that moves through a couple different keys. Totally different vibe in the bridge / solo, and all dressed up as fun rock and roll with Dave on top, right? He's not overrated. He's underrated. I don't know. Let's see. How about, okay, let's do one more. How about this? This song, once again, dressed up as, there it is. Hang 'em high, right? Amazing. So we all know it's great, all this, but interesting. Now the bridge. I'm sorry, that's really creative hard rock. Really creative hard rock. Chordally, you know, melodically, harmonically, what's going on? It's high level shit, man. It's not Kiss, you know. I agree. I was never a Kiss guy, really. Like, I don't really get it. I kind of get it, but it's not that. It's not some, you know. It's really, really advanced, cool hard rock playing that nobody else touched. Nobody. You know, you think about all the bands that came after and folks that were influenced by Eddie and the Flash and all that stuff. It's the writing and the, you know, the high level. And I know Dave probably served as editor a lot. And some, you know, Dave's genius is singing on a really great melody on top of that little bridge part that we just played and tying it all in, right? I always use the example of for Dave's genius too of, well, we're going to do a little Van Halen appreciation here. Let me see here. Let me see. It's a great. Let me see if I can find part here in the song. First of all, oh wait, I missed it. Best F sharp chord. Oh, listen to. I can just listen to it over and over. Ah. Oh my God, it's good. Oh, that just, it's magic. But just give me a sec here to find it. This is. Sorry, man, that's just cool. Now, anybody ever notice the kick? Dot, 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 dot. Right? That's the kick pattern through there. Who the hell played that in hard rock music? Nobody. It's crazy cool. Be aware of any drummer that says, "Oh, I know that song. We can play that song." It's like, do you really? Do you know the drum pattern? That is funky as hell with the 16th note hi-hat, kind of countering with the guitar riff. It's really creative, cool, hard rock stuff. There's no other band that ever did anything like that. The example I was looking for, I didn't. It's another song off of Fair Warning, of Dave's genius, and I'm forgetting what song is it? It might be an Unchained. Oh yeah, Unchained, of course. I'm gonna show you one more thing, and then I promise we'll get back to questions and stuff here. But this is Dave tying, and this is something Chris Cornell was also great at. If you can take a musically slightly disjointed and kind of amazing part, tie it all together with a melody on top that makes it sound simple. Really creative writing, and the ability to tie that section together with a melody and phrasing vocally that makes it make sense. Because when you listen to it on its own, it's like, what would you sing on top of that? But they did it, and it was great. So Van Halen, underrated. Eddie Van Halen, underrated. Slide on This Could Be Magic. On Could This Be Magic? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Forgot about that. Could this be magic or could this be love? Yeah, great on that, right? That's so cool. Anyways, yeah. Okay, that song gives me chills. It says double sizz. I love that Peach is an EVH fanboy. Such a big EVH fanboy. And it's those deep tracks. If you've forgotten, go back and listen. Oh, he's overrated. Oh, screw that, man. Nobody touched him. Still nobody does. It's his guitar playing is, to me, as technical as I ever want to be, You know, like anything beyond that. There's so many people, you know, there's so much great guitar players out there now. Shred this and shred that and blah, blah, blah. But nobody can captivate in the way he did and pull, you know, he moved people with that, you know, musically. I don't know, it's this intangible thing. Maybe I'm just getting old, but you know, there's something about the way that he did it. And yes, it was technical, but it was so, I don't know, it was just great writing. Few players can be considered true innovators who change music. EVH definitely falls in that category as a stealth parrot. I 100% agree. For me, there was two game changers, Hendrix and EVH, you know, in the 20th century. Two game changers of rock guitar. Those were the big ones. Lots of great guitar players. Jimmy Page, sure. Jeff Beck, great. You know, Clapton, of course. You know, like the top tier dudes, you know, and then you had all the guys I consider kind of just under them that are also like absolutely exceptional, but maybe didn't have quite the, like when we talk about Brian May, also absolutely unbelievable. I have all this appreciation for him lately, but David Gilmour, you know, I think of like Brian May, David Gilmour, you know, who else would be a good example of somebody in that? I guess Angus Young, you know, folks like that. And then just above those guys, we've got Clapton, Page, and Jeff Beck. You know, Hendrix is number one, I think, as the game changer of what was possible on guitar. You know, Clapton, sure, but I mean, he, you know, it was a little more traditional. It was like Hendrix somehow, oh my God, like the world's ending with the guitar. Like, what is he doing? You know, it was like this crazy thing. Everybody else seemed more attainable, and Hendrix and EVH were like the blow your mind beyond. Like, I never thought you could, how the hell do you even do what? I never thought that was possible, you know. And they were the guys that really did that. You know, the game changers that recalibrated everybody's idea of what you could do on guitar in the rock idiom. Yeah, Pete actually does the best Eruption cover that I've heard to date. B says BC Rich. Thank you, I appreciate that. I worked hard on it. I did. I had to practice hard for a few weeks to get it up to snuff. Pete, which Van Halen song is that? That was, I played Dirty Movies, and I played Mean Street, and I played Unchained. Interesting. Fair warning, experimental album that actually didn't sell as well as some of the other ones, but maybe that's why, because it was kind of proggy and deep and dark, but it was so cool. It's one of my absolute favorites. And I also played Hang 'em High, which is off of Diver Down, which is sort of also a sleeper record that, you know, because it had a lot of covers on it and all that, but yet it's got secrets, and it's got Hang 'em High. It's got some, you know, stellar songs on it. So still a great record. Great record. You should do a What Makes This Song Great with Beato. I would love to do a What Makes This Song Great with Rick, actually. Yeah. You know, I would love that. Do you sing your guitar solos? Sometimes, yeah. I would highly recommend, if you can't come up with it, listen to your, I guess I do, like nowadays a little bit more. I start by vocalizing in my head. I'm getting better at it, actually, when I think about it. Like when I come in with melodies for these videos I do and stuff like that, or, you know, it's usually something that's coming. I'll hear it first, and then I'll try and find the notes, which is, you know, I think the best thing to do. ZZ Top vibe in the middle eight, says Espen. ZZ Top, another great example of a band that did some really creative stuff. You know, we think of them as this Texas boogie blues band. They were weird at times. Super weird band. Really interesting, you know. And I think a lot of Eddie's rhythm playing, Billy Gibbons inspired, because they used to play a lot of ZZ Top in their set. I mean, when they were like playing covers and stuff like that, they did a lot of a lot of, you know, you probably had to learn a lot of those riffs and stuff. And I think a lot of that, for, you know, when we think about, you know, boogie blues kind of stuff, I mean, that was the ZZ Top was the prototype, wasn't it? So yeah. Van Halen was an Alan Holdsworth fan. Yes, totally. And he was definitely that. When you hear those wide interval kind of interesting things, you know, he loved Alan Holdsworth. He did. And that's true. Yeah. He should have released solo prog albums. And of course he would argue, well, that's Van Halen. I would just get my brother to play on it, so then it would be Van Halen. That was always his point, you know? Yeah. Okay. What else? Moving down. Have I thought of creating patches for line 6? Yes, just once more that time life management thing. We've talked about it. I would love to do it. I've just got to set aside 2 days or something and make a bunch. I have to. Only makes sense. Diver Down is such an underrated album. I agree. Secrets is so good. When I did the video for the EVH chorus, and I was quite in contact with Ed and Matt Brook and stuff during that time, because they asked me if I would make a video for the chorus, and I said yes. And I did the video for and did a bit of Pretty Woman and Secrets, which I didn't actually play quite. There's one thing I got kind of just a very simple thing, but it's like I didn't drone the one string in Secrets, but it basically sounds right. And I played Cathedral, and it was I would send Ed saw the videos that like the bounces that I did first. I would send it to him to make sure that it's the only one. By the way, when I do video demos for people, I don't generally give people any kind of approval or whatever on the video, but it's Eddie Van Halen. So I of course I will make sure you like it because I would die if I ever put anything out that he didn't like, so so I would send him the edits and stuff like that, and I got some just it's, I don't know, man, the kid in me is like, I get a nice message back from him or something, and the thrill never goes away, makes me like, it's like pinch me, but he gave me some really nice compliments. I said, man, you play the parts so good, and it sounds like, so, just or whatever. He would just be like really kind and text and stuff, and he's just a sweet, I don't know, I love that guy. But it was really, it's like, it's such a thrill. I worked my ass off on that stuff to make sure it sounded as good as absolutely possible, recreating the drums and the bass as best I could. It was really hard to get Alex's drum sound, but I tried to program it in and stuff and do it as good as I could. But anyways, yeah. Somebody's saying Eddie's style is very difficult to copy, Ronnie. Yeah, that's absolutely true. He's one of the hardest guys to his phrasing is so weird. He'll put 5 notes where you think, oh, it's 4 notes, and it's like, no. And when you slow it down using something like Transcribe and really hone into it is when it's really interesting to listen to his phrasing at a very slow speed, and then go, God, that's what he's doing. And then you kind of try and get it on your fingers, and it's like, that's so weird, and it sounds not good and unnatural and stuff. And then you play it enough, and then all of a sudden you jam it along with the track, and you speed the track up a bit like you can do in Transcribe, and all of a sudden you go, oh shit, there it was. And you get it, and you're like, oh, that's the phrasing. I always use the Hot for Teacher is like, I'm probably not going to remember it because it's weird. I can't remember anything anymore. But I can't remember the lick now. Yeah. And it's something like that, slow. I have to, these are the things I can't actually remember a lot of these things, and then I have to go back and play. I'll get it after like 20 minutes, but I can't. It's hard for me to remember. If I'm playing it for a gig or getting ready for a tour or something, I have to go back and revisit the parts. That's just the kind of guitar player I am. That's a unique thing. Okay, so he does a pre-bend there. Right, that's it. And then I'll have to go back and practice that for about another 20 minutes, and then I'll get it up to speed, and then it'll be there with the phrasing. But I forget things if I don't practice them a lot. Anyways, But it's like that little pre-band thing. Once you put that in there, that's one of those things like, oh shit, there it is. It sounds like it now. If you don't play the lick exactly, I don't know. It's like the hobbyist in me wants to nail that stuff and get the phrasing and stuff. When you get it, it's really cool. Anyways, what else we got here? Who am I going on tour with in January? So if you guys know the organization that does Brit Floyd, has anybody been to see a Brit Floyd show? Started out as Australian Pink Floyd, and then they kind of split, and one side went Australian Pink Floyd, and then they went Brit Floyd. But they're the folks that do it's a very, very high level Pink Floyd tribute is Brit Floyd with the full. They actually bought lights and the full projection rig and everything from Pink Floyd, and it's almost also sort of like officially sanctioned. And I saw them here at the Greek and was in LA and was blown away because it's just done on such a high level, and the music, the musicians were terrific, and it was great. Anyway, they've got a thing they're doing called Classic Rock Show. Same organization, and they asked me to come do it in the UK in January, and I said I don't have anything in January other than NAMM. I have to miss NAMM, which is unfortunate, but it's a lot of great songs. And it's just a celebration of all that music. It's all synced to video and stuff like that. And so I thought that's going to be good for my chops. I can go learn like a ton of this music and go out and, do this run and play all this great music. So it's all like epic songs, So I can't say what it is, but it's all great songs and it's going to be fun. So that's what's going on in January. It's theaters mostly in the UK and in Scotland and Wales. It's like theater shows. Should be a lot of fun. I've seen Brit Floyd twice as Lyric Bread. Yeah, they're great. Really great show. If you ever get to see them, it's really terrific. I saw the Australian version a couple months back, says Adam. Yeah, there's two. They had a little bit of a falling out, I think, or something. I don't want to get into that, but so there's two. They've split now into two. But both are great, I think. Has anyone mentioned that Dave Lee Roth has Al playing for the DLR band? I don't know if that's common knowledge or not, but that is absolutely 100% true. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but whatever. You already said it. So, yeah, long story. Okay, I'll just talk about it because who gives a shit? I got a call about it, and I actually referred Al. That's true. They called me and asked me if it would be something I would want to do. I already had the classic rock show booked in the tour booked in January, and Dave's thing starts in January and runs January, February. I think now they're maybe extending it. But anyway, they asked me if I would be interested, and I was like, my exact response, to be honest, was I can do it. I'm good at that stuff. But I said, this is the guy that you want to call. Just trust me. Just call him. And so I did give him Al's number, and they called him. He went down the next day and, of course, just nailed it because he's Al Estrada and he's amazing at it. I love Al. He's a really nice guy and a terrific guitar player. And he's made for, my point was that I'd have to work. Obviously, I'm trying to remember that solo right now. I could do it. It'd be a lot of work. And I already had another tour booked. Al, walk in and just do it. Right. He's been playing, he's done Van Halen, tributes and stuff for years. And I was like, he's going to walk in with his rig and just plug in and just, it's so part of an innate part of his style at this point that it sounds like it's Al's style, you know what I mean? It's like, it's in him, like in his musical DNA so deep. It sort of is in mine too, but he knows all the material because he's gone out and I've never gone out and done like a whole set of Van Halen. So I was just like, if anybody's born to do it, it's like Al's going to nail it. So, and I really love hooking up people when I know it's going to work, like if somebody calls you and it's like the right fit, I love like putting people together when I know it'll work. It's just like, let me help you out right now and make it easier. It feels good, right? When you, when you do that. So anyways, I'm not sure I was supposed to talk about that, but you mentioned it in the chat. And so there you go. What else we got here? I already answered that. Have I checked out the Strymon Iridium? Not yet. Somebody emailed me about it and asked me if I wanted to do a video for them. It wasn't Strymon. It was almost like a third party company that some of these people have have like other people doing their artist relations or video, like marketing stuff. And I think that was the company that hit me up and said, because I used to just talk to people at Strymon, but I haven't spoken to anybody from them in years. And anyways, what's my point? Oh yeah, so they emailed me about it, and I said, sure, I'd be happy to check it out and make a video. It sounds good to me in the clips I've heard, but I'd love to do my own thing and do a song with it, record a track with it. But then I didn't hear back, so I don't know. Pete, which was the Marshall and which was the PT-15? Says Odin Stan. I'll put that up in the video comments and on the gear page probably in a couple days. The video is still getting good views, so I want to keep people guessing. It's interesting because it's about half and half. Not that many people have nailed it. Oh, it's 1:15 already. This went really fast today. This is really this was fun for me. I'm going to split pretty soon. I was a little late starting, so I'll go another 10 minutes or so. But please check out the book by Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week, and other books by him to sort out your time management issues. Thank you. I'm going to screenshot that so I can go back and order some of this stuff on Amazon later, or maybe get it as ebooks. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Saw your stream a few weeks ago. Your glasses were much better then. You don't like these ones? I've got those round ones. They're just at home. That's all. This is just a bullshit pair of. I've resigned myself to wearing. I have to. It's like in order to read I think I can go get my contacts looked at because the prescriptions could be better. I think. I have to agree, said John L. Britt Floyd, excellent. Yeah, I loved them when I saw them. Very, very, very good. A real entertaining night at the Greek a few years ago when I saw them. So when I saw the level of them doing it, when these guys asked me to be a part of the tour in January, that's what really made me go, okay, because I would only want to go do something like that if it was high level, done extremely well with great musicians and a really good show, like on a, and they kind of changed my mind about it. When I went to see them, I was like, this is awesome. And it was a great night of music. So I really walked away from it feeling like, wow, that was just enjoyable watching all those songs, cause it's covers. I mean, you're playing covers, right? So you don't want it. It's, but they do it on such a great, take it so seriously that it's like, it was Britt Floyd was an with the lights and everything. And it's a real experience to go in to see some great music. So I'm looking forward to see how it turns out. Steve Kelly says the thing that blew my mind, especially the Hot for Teacher solo, was when you slowed it down, the super fast lick still had a lot of swing. That's it. Big part of it is the swing and how it still swings even when it's kind of odd number of notes. The feel's all there, and that's part of the magic and why it's so hard to replicate, because sometimes you'll go, wait a minute, he's putting 5 notes in there, not 4. And it only sounds right when you throw in the other one. Levi says, who's the best person you've worked with? I mean, musically for me, the pinnacle was Cornell. Playing with Henley is also unbelievable on a musical level, and Melissa Etheridge and a lot of the people I've worked with. But just the fit for me, and the most fun and the most free and the most like in the music and feeling like I was part of it that I've ever been was Cornell. Getting to just play Rusty Cage every night or something like that was so much fun. And you're, getting to be a part of, this is a special time, doing that, I remember Chester after a Linkin Park, when we were on tour with Linkin Park at the last show of the tour, him being up on stage saying, thanks everybody, for coming out to the tour. And, he said, thanks. He was thanking all the bands. One thing he says, thanks to Chris Cornell, thanks to all the guys in his band, you guys are lucky, and it almost sounded like I had to think about the comment for a minute, because it was like, what do you mean we're lucky? Like, I know we're lucky, but we're all pros. It could be taken one way, like out of context. But then what he was trying to say is, like we weren't like rock stars then, and we got this gig. We found ourselves at the right place at the right time to sew that gig up and then play that awesome music. And I understand what he was saying. It was like, because he was a fan of Chris's, and he was like, you guys scored, and it was almost like, I don't know if he was saying like, I hope you appreciate it or something, like, but it was like, you know what I mean? And now looking back on it, he's gone, and Chris is gone. And it's like, yeah, man, we were lucky in that time. Like, we were lucky, to get to live that music for a minute, because it was just a real special. Who gets to play great rock music from not one, not two, but three different bands, plus the great solo songs from Cornell, Soundgarden, Audioslave, Temple of the Dog, plus all that solo material, plus all the fun covers and stuff that we would throw in from Zeppelin and everything else. And he was just such a fun guy, and it was like the closest thing to, we were sidemen, but we were also a band. And he used to say that, he goes, because people would be like, oh, do you miss being in a band? He's like, I'm still in a band. What do you mean? I get out and play in a band every night. I'm in a band. It was just our band. And it was a band, it was just, we were playing, it was a unique situation, because there's not too many guys that have been in three successful bands of their own and had a great solo career. He was kind of a one of a kind. We got to play all that music, which is something that not even Audioslave got to do, or not even Soundgarden got to do, right? Soundgarden didn't play Audioslave songs, Audioslave played a little bit of Soundgarden, but not really, a little bit. They would play Outshined, I think, and a couple, but it wasn't like they were going out and playing Can't Change Me or Chris's solo stuff. He would be, maybe he'd go out and play that solo and acoustic by himself. We got to do it all those great songs, to the best of our ability. And so it was a really special, really special time. Henley's really right up there too, because for me, growing up and listening to Boys of Summer on the radio, I can remember, I don't know why I remember, but I remember when one time in particular waking up, it was a nice day, and it was, getting towards summer, and I can remember waking up, and I was probably 14, and that's Boys of Summer coming on the radio, and I just remember it being on the clock radio and waking up to get ready for school, and then all these years later, I find myself playing with the guy, and it was those early like Dirty Laundry and Boys of Summer, and these songs like Last Worthless Evening and stuff. I remember all those being radio hits as I was going through high school and everything. So it was really his solo material. And of course I'd hear the Eagles stuff, but I wasn't like a huge Eagles fan when I was a younger, you appreciate it later on. But it was just his solo stuff, which was so creative, and Sunset Grill and Dirty Laundry and all these kind of cool, weird rock songs that were, not at all countrified rock and roll like the Eagles kind of was. It was a different, I guess I connected more with his solo rock thing initially, and then later on, of course, I appreciate the Eagles. So this is amazing playing all that music, it never is lost on me when you go out and do the encore with him, which is many times Hotel California and Desperado, and it's like, this is some epic stuff going on right now. Like, this is, wow, like I'm lucky. I feel lucky in that moment too. Like, this is not suck. This is some high level, Desperado is a really easy song for me to play on guitar. And so there's a few songs like New York Minutes, another one playing with him, where I just get to kind of sit back and watch him sing when I would play with him, and I just play, and I'd be like, this is amazing. I'm up here right now with this guy, and I'm watching him sing these songs that he wrote. New York Minute lyrically is, like, for me, one of the greatest songs ever written. So it's amazing, anyways, so that I almost get to be a fan up there, and I forget that I'm on stage sometimes just watching him sing. L. Scott Music is talking to John. Sir's in the house. What's up, my friend? John's at work today, I think. So just so everybody knows, he works his butt off. I talked to him earlier, and he said he was on his way to the shop. He's always working. He's probably, I bet, if you're listening right now, I bet you're at your desk or at your workstation with your thing on your head, with your glasses, and going like this on some frets. I'm pretty sure that's probably what you're doing right now. So, my knees hurt. Said, what about Temple of the Dog? I mentioned Temple of the Dog. I did. Gladhammer says, I use my 100-watt head for my main distortion sound, but I also want the BEOD pedal to be always on, adding to my tube crunch instead of the main sound being the BEOD. Would this work? It's best into a clean amp, to be honest. It's not the pedal to stack on top of distortion. It's too gainy. That's my honest opinion. Something like Dave's Naked Overdrive is much better for that. If you want something from Friedman, or the Golden Pearl, that would be a good one to stack. But the BEOD lives on its own. If you're playing into a clean amp and you want that, a high gain modded thing, that's really how it's designed to be used. Dave would tell you the same thing, honestly. Chris Tat says, I'd say Chester was even a bit envious talking about that last story. Well, yeah, he was a big Chris fan, and he came out and sang Hunger Strike with us every night on that tour. So about 35 times or something we got to play with him and do. He would sing with us, and it was really exciting. Stealth Parrot says it's sad when you talk about Chris. Yeah, it can't not be. It's hard. I try and stay positive about it, but anyway, Chester would come out on tour and sing Hunger Strike with us, and it would be the first time. It was a Lincoln Park tour. It was their festival, and it would be the first time the crowd would see him that night, because we were direct support for the last band to play before Lincoln Park. So it's mostly Lincoln Park fans there, and he would walk out and the place would go insane every night. It was always a really great. There's a lot of videos of us doing Hunger Strike with Chester on YouTube if you want to check it out. Always really fun. I saw Greta Van Fleet last night in Liverpool. Great show. Lee McDonald. How are they? I wonder how they're sounding now. If there's any, do they sound any different? Are they doing? I wonder if there's an evolution of their sound at all. I'm curious about that. Let's see. My wife read Valerie Bertinelli's book, and apparently Ed was a workaholic, says Stealth Parrot. Never stopped playing and working. I could see that. I mean, he seemed to constantly be working back in the day, didn't he? He was buried in the studio all the time and stuff, He's a pretty private guy, and I think he likes his time to making music, and it's probably like a safe zone, the studio and stuff. He's not the guy to go out and be social, I don't think, a lot, and family. He, spending time with his family and the people he's comfortable around, and probably making music, because that's his bag, Does the PT-15 IR come loaded with your personal IR captures, says Lyric Bread? The answer is that what comes in it right now is mixes that I've made of existing Celestion IRs, so where I've combined certain mics together and stuff, as well as some just existing Celestion IRs that I love the sound of. But down the road a little bit, we will see. Can't talk more about it just yet, but there's stuff coming, so we'll see what we do with the amp and what's included with it as we move forward. John says, hi, Pete. How about that Landau show? A lot of players have more technique and chops, but don't make choices nearly as well. He just understands how to flow. Yeah, I mean, his technique is, I don't know about more technique, because how can you have, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody that has his control over the guitar. I mean, the way he kind of just manhandles the guitar is, his touch and stuff. Sometimes he talks in between songs, and he's so like, he's making jokes and cracking jokes and stuff. And then you don't really see him like changing sounds up and stuff, but then he'll start a song and it's a completely different tone than whatever the last one had going with his pedals and stuff. And it's seamless the way he does it. Or he'll start playing like you guys know, I mean, if you've seen him, the way he'll go into an intro and he'll just flow and start, you realize he's going, it sounds like he's noodling. And then you realize that oh no, he's actually starting the thing. And, Abe's back there playing drums and he knows where he is. And he's starting something, and dynamically it's so beautiful and going into it. And then he always ends a song like that generally the same way. He'll fall out of it and go back into something that's really like, this is like a lot of counterpoint going on with some melody moving on top and the bass moving underneath, and this, beautiful thing where he kind of falls out or whatever and does, and it's so technically gorgeous and flowing. It reminds me of when I used to see, I guess it's just great guitar playing, but it reminds me of, for instance, when I used to see Ted Green. And when I go to lessons with Ted Green, and he just would play, and it was, he was playing songs that he knew, like he would interpret a Beatles song or something, go, how this song that goes like this. And it wasn't about playing the licks perfectly. It was about the bass is there and the melody's there, and it's all, you hear it reflected. And he's not playing like something he practiced. he's internalized the song, and then it's just coming out, and it's much more of a jazz kind of, almost like with the counterpoint and everything, and it's all there. You hear the whole song and what he's doing, rather than most of us rock guitar players or whatever, more like you learn the riff and you learn the part, and that's your part, and the bass player plays the bass. You know what I'm saying? And when Mike plays, it's like this beautiful music coming out of the guitar. That's, I don't know, it's incredible. Anyway, somebody's in the top chat. Andrew Morgan. I don't mind stealing bread from the mouths of decadence, but I can't feed on the powerless when my cup's already overfilled. I'm going hungry. Going hungry. Thanks, man. Thanks, Andrew, for doing the top chat. Appreciate it. Yeah, beating around the bush on the amp shootout was awesome. Great AC/DC tune, says Mark. I agree. One of my absolute favorites. Well, somebody else is up there in the top chat. Mike again says, time for SL68 PT15 reveal yet. Always enjoy. I vote PT15 was number 1 and SL68 was 7. I'll do it this week. I'm gonna let it go another couple days because it's still people still guessing and stuff, and I don't want to spoil it. The video's gotten pretty good views. It's up 12 or 13,000 now or something. So we'll keep it rolling. The point being, though, they sound really damn close, right? Really close. Is this still live? Says my knees hurt. I'm here live. Down to the bottom of the chat. I got to run, guys. Pretty quick here. So just a few more. Yeah, I wouldn't bash them. They sound really good, but it's all been done. Says Stealth Parrot. I think talking about Greta Van Fleet. Russell says, hi, Pete. Do you think an early model of your signature guitar will be released? Entry model of my signature guitar. Not any time now, like in the, they're very expensive in Australia, you say. And not any time, like, I gotta eat this because I'm starving. No plans for like a budget line or anything like that now. I'd be up to John. Time for me to practice the 5-second rule and get to work. Have fun, John says. Bye, John. Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. And you can see John's profile picture there. It looks like a little like a Eddie Van Halen or Peter Frampton back in the day. That's John. He's got a Les Paul there strapped on, and he's rocking out. Ted Green had a supercomputer for a brain, I think. Yeah, that's for sure. Blake Mills, also wonderful. Wyatt Manley mentioned Blake Mills. Andy Timmons says Beatles cover so good. Andy's brilliant. His version of Bohemian Rhapsody, which I managed to catch on video, and I put it up in my NAMM video last year. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Go watch my NAMM video. A little plug for my NAMM video from this past year. He plays this brilliant version of Bohemian Rhapsody, just as a trio, and it's really incredible. It was really great. He's another great communicator on guitar, and he plays with so much joy, and he's always smiling, and he's just a great, he's fantastic. Favorite young guitarist, says Wyatt. Oh God, there's so many good ones out there. I don't know. I love Mateus. He's awesome. He's really inspired a lot of people, and the excitement surrounding his playing is hard to deny, right? I watched a video of him playing one of his recent Asia tour, and the people in the audience are just holding on every single lick and note he's playing. You can hear them, whoa, like when he plays some lick, you hear the whole audience swell up, and it sounds like they're just like hanging on every note and riff that he's playing. So that's a great thing for the guitar, I think. Is my signature guitar my main axe? Yes. If I take one guitar to a gig or to I still love playing other guitars, but if I can take one and that's it, it's the signature, because I can get everything out of it that I need. It's the most versatile guitar I own by far. It's the most comfortable guitar for me to play these days, I would say, as well. Stays in tune, sounds great. How can you go wrong? I know you don't do other amp reviews, but wondering if you ever tried the Freeman Dirty Shirley and how you would compare it to a Marshall. It's very great for especially the Zeppelin-y drive, if you want a little bit more mid-gain. It's a really nice sounding amp. And it's a nice sounding clean amp too. If you turn the master all the way up and then run the gain on about 2 or 3, got a great clean sound. Those 6L6s is really nice. So it's a good amp. I keep burping, sorry. To the bottom of the chat, Pete, do you sing at all? So if you watch my Instagram story, that's Steve, you'll hear me singing just for a second, a little sneak peek of the song I mixed yesterday at Bob Clear Mountains, which I want to put out really soon. And it'll be the first time anybody hears me sing lead on a song. But I wrote a tune that I think is it's a fun little song, and yeah. Check it out when it comes out. It's called Bold Heart. And I'm really proud of the guitar solo on it as well. It's the whole tune in general. I'm actually proud of because I'm not a lyricist really, but I wrote some lyrics and I made a song. Are you doing any clinics in Colorado anytime soon? Says Levi. Not that I know of in Colorado. I did one a little while ago in Colorado. Guitars, etc. I believe the store was called. But headed out for some clinics this week. If anybody's out there in North Carolina. In Stuff Music in Pittsburgh, and also the one I'm doing in Baltimore. We'll see you out there, I hope. Yvette Young with Covet says ST. Yeah, she's amazing too. Really great guitar player. Amazing musician, actually. She played keys too. And really good. I like Yvette a lot. Yeah. How did you go to work with the song? How did I go to work with it? The song was a song that I wrote as a demo and recorded back in 2012, tracked it with some, programmed drums and stuff. And then I was going to do this video with Bob Clearmountain where we were going to, and I asked him if he would mind sort of mixing a song and showing me if I could ask some questions as he's mixing and, get some of his tips and tricks and stuff like that, which I don't think anybody's ever done with him before. And, show you something funny while I chew. I took a video of him. This was his idea. He said, why don't you take a time lapse of me while I'm like going around the console? And I loved that idea. He said, nobody's ever done that. That's Bob Clearmountain with his CBGB t-shirt on. Mixing. Isn't that cool? So that's how I'll start the video, with the little time lapse video of him running around the board and getting my song going. But anyway, so the song was done 6 years ago, basically, and then I just added a couple clean electrics this week. Sorry, I'm so rude. I'm chewing. I'm just getting so hungry. I didn't eat breakfast. And Kurt Biscara added drums in his studio and sent them to me, and I flew them in. And Holly Henderson sang some background vocals over in England. It was one of those. Pieced it together, but it's a nice little song. So I can't wait for people to hear it. It's got John Button on it too. So Kurt Biscara, legend. Come on, played with Elton John and Rod Stewart and everybody under the sun, and John Button from The Who, and Holly Henderson, who's a genius. And little old me with Bob Clearmountain mixing. Better sound good or I'm in trouble. I better get a new line of work if it doesn't sound good with all those folks. Just wondering what kind of gluten-free bar you're eating. It's one of those Go Macro ones. You buy them at Trader Joe's or at Whole Foods. Do I have a simple way of making an IR? The only simplest way is using like the 2 Notes program, probably. The one that comes with Torpedo Live and relatively simple. Axe Effects has one in it too. If you've got an Axe Effects, it's got an IR creator. There's probably standalone plugins now that do it quite simply, but those are the only ways that I've ever actually created them myself, using those. Fellowship of Acoustic looks like a great store. I've been thinking more and more that I got to get my video done, because I'm going to do a little video series when I'm out on these clinic tours called, the world's great guitar stores, I think I'm going to call it, or something. Because sometimes I go to a shop and it's so exceptional, and more and more people buying things online and all that, and have email order, and it's great that you can get things from, I love Sweetwater and I love Thomann and that whole thing. But also, there's no substitute for going into one of these really great guitar stores, picking up the guitar, sitting down, playing it there. And Fellowship of Acoustics is on a whole nother level, because it's in this beautiful house that was built in the 19th century, and with these high ceilings and all the acoustics hanging on the walls. And, in the video that I made, because I made a video when I went there, I'm filming, just spur of the moment, walking in a room with a couple guys jamming on acoustics, and they're playing in this room and it sounds great, and they're just rock. That kind of experience you can't get by mail ordering a guitar, right? That same thing of playing in the studio with people. It's such a special thing to be able to go to this beautiful shop that's got a nice cafe, and you can sit outside and eat and have a coffee and stuff, then go inside and play these guitars. And it's a great place to buy a guitar. So I've got a video coming on it. And plus it's surrounded by, streams and greenery, and it's just beautiful. So All right, you guys. Mark says, thanks for your time today. Great community we have here. I agree. Nice people. I totally agree. I appreciate you guys being here. Every time I'm blown away. Everybody shows up, week after week, and it's just really special. So thanks so much. If you dug it, please share. Please hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you guys. I'm coming back next week for my clinic run. I'm coming back Saturday night, so I should be here same time, same place, unless I miss a plane or something. But Sunday morning, I'll be back in this spot. So I'll see you guys next week. And Levi says, you're awesome. Thanks, man. You're awesome too. I appreciate you being here. And everybody have a great week. And sorry if I missed any questions and stuff. And I'll hit you next time, I promise. Okay. Over and out, folks. Take care.